everybody, this is Angela Savage, the daughter of IndyCar driver Swede Savage. It's time to watch Stories from Motorsports. My buddy, Doug Kenny, loves to share the journey of people in racing, and he is an amazing dude. Drivers, owners, fans, and team members, watch the SFM podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny from Stories from Motorsports. I'd like to thank my buddy Josh Mabe for the YouTube work he did years ago that inspired me to create this platform. I'd like to thank my buddy Victor Sifton for convincing me to get back into it after my hiatus from 2017 to 2019. I have a very special treat for you all today with an amazing journey from an amazing racing figure. Drivers, start your engines. Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny from Stories from Motorsports, and today we have Zoey Edenholm with us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to have you on. Tell everybody where you're from and what you do.
I'm from Arizona, and as of right now, I'm a stadium super truck driver. So if you see a hot pink truck flying through the air, that's me. And I've been racing since I was 11 years old, so long time, and I just love the motorsports industry and found a passion for it when I was young and came alongside stadium super trucks, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Everybody, in case you all don't know, she's just fresh out of coming from Long Beach for the Grand Prix, where she ran some stadium super truck races but got into an accident. What was that all about?
Yeah, it was quite the ride. I went up the catch fence. I got a little squirrely off the jump, and then Max was right there, so nowhere for him to go, but into me. So it was quite the ride, but so fun, and the crowd absolutely loves whenever we put on a show, right? Whether it's good battles or a nice wreck down the front straightaway, the fans absolutely love it, and we're so grateful for the supportive community that Stadium Super Trucks has built.
Yeah, it's amazing. I saw them race in Nashville a few years back, and I was taken aback by it. I was shocked, but in a good way. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's not your normal type of racing that you see when you hit jumps on asphalt, and we get to follow alongside the IndyCar circuit. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a different type of racing that we get to bring to the IndyCar series. And it's a lot of fun. Handful to drive. You got a lot of more things going on than what I'm used to in like the open wheel series, like Formula 4. I raced in 2019. That's kind of just like hit your marks, get your just get that car dialed in. Where the trucks, you're shifting, you have a handbrake now, which I'm not used to. So it's definitely different to adapt to.
Yeah, for sure. Do you prefer asphalt or off-road?
I prefer asphalt. It's all that I've pretty much raced. I've only done asphalt racing, but I did find a passion when I was young for some off-road stuff. The first thing I ever drove was probably a little quad in the dirt when I was 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And so I knew I had the need for speed. I just didn't know where to place it until I was around 11 and started in karting.
Oh, you were in karting as well. Did you do K1 or did you do other series?
I did the SCUSA series, so X30 stuff, Leopard when the Leopard engines were around, and Rotax, so all around the U.S., kind of traveled around, raced at Newcastle, there's a track local to here in Phoenix, PKRA, so just raced all the races that there are in the U.S. for karting.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, go-karting is a lot of fun. I was a go-kart competitor in my early teens, and won half of the races I competed in.
That's amazing.
It was very amazing, and when I first started out, it didn't look promising. In the very first race I ran, it was out in Denver, Colorado, where I was originally based at and where I lived. That's my home state, by the way, Colorado. But
okay, nice.
But anyway, in my first race, it was a small K1 series and all that. I qualified 7th, and the race was very uneventful. I had a very uneventful run, and I only, in the whole 50 laps that the race was, I only passed one competitor. It was mostly follow the leader for most of the day, so it got pretty boring, and it got interesting towards the end, because what happened was, after settling for a 6th place finish when the white flag waved, suddenly 2 go-karts wrecked, and so I swerved around them, came back around, and saw that I finished 2nd.
Nice.
But yeah, I was glad for the result, but my thoughts afterwards was I was not meant to finish here, you know.
Yeah. At least you were self-aware, right?
Yeah. I even went up to the guy that owned my go-kart afterwards, and I said to him, I was like, I had fun, but I'm not sure I want to do this if it keeps being follow the leader, you know?
Yeah.
And sure enough, he persuaded me to keep doing it, and what happens in the next race? I win the pole, lead half the race, and I end up winning.
Oh my gosh, you just had to stick with it.
Yeah, I stuck with it at that point, and then one year in 2013, when I turned 15, I won a championship here in Arizona after winning like all but 3 of the races on the calendar.
Oh, that's amazing. Congrats. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Did you have any experiences like that in karting?
I had quite a few. In karting, when I first started, I got last my first race. And I was like, I am not going to do this again. So I went and I drove every single day. And we had them every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so then the second week, I was like, I'm just going to train and figure this out. And then my second ever race, I won. So that was, you definitely have to put the work in and put the effort in. And it was kind of cool to see that. And then as I progressed in karting, I had multiple top 5s in the national championships, and so I was leading points into like the biggest race of the year, and I didn't realize how much mental, when you're young, you don't understand like the mental side of racing, and I had a lot of pressure put on me, and unfortunately didn't end up doing well that race just because of all the pressure of leading points going into like a big championship weekend. So now I like to teach young kids that, you know, you got to be able to control your breaths, you got to control your mental state and be in the right mindset before you start, or things like that can happen where it's out of your control, so you got to keep it under control. So just things like that I've learned, and I want to be able to help the younger karting community, because I wish I had someone to guide me when I was younger in that sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're sort of a mentor and guide even though you're pretty young?
Yeah, I love to help the younger community for sure. So anytime anyone reaches out on social media, or anytime I have time to go to the karting track to help out, I love to do so. It's kind of giving back to the community, and I just love it. And I love being around motorsports no matter what type it is. So anytime I can be at the racetrack, I want to be there helping or racing myself.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So do you run your own car then, or your own truck in this case?
No, so with the Stadium Super Trucks, Robbie owns all the trucks, and it's kind of an arrive and drive program. So he selects drivers, or drivers can come with sponsorship, and he provides all the trucks, preps them all, and you kind of just show up on race weekend and they're ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. I remember in Nashville when I saw the Stadium Super Trucks, I was a devout NASCAR fan for a number of years during most of my childhood and during my karting days. So obviously I knew about Robbie Gordon, but then he shut down his Cup Series team, and I didn't know what happened to him afterwards until that weekend in Nashville when I saw him racing in those trucks, and I was like, man, where have I been all these years to not know what he's been up to?
Right? I know. It's so crazy. He's created a really, really great series, and we get like former drivers from like IndyCar or NASCAR, or we have like Cletus, who was he's a YouTuber that we have in the truck, so we get a lot of different, there's the So people that run every weekend, and then there's also, we get some spontaneous drives from drivers from other series that make it also fun and interesting. So he's created such a fun series.
It is a lot of fun. When I saw Robbie win that race in Nashville and then Robert Stout, they came all the trucks came onto the front stretch and did burnouts at the same time because it's fan friendly, you know. And
Yep.
I was excited, but I just remember thinking, which truck is the winner?
Yeah.
Because everybody was doing burnouts, and so I'm like, which one is the winner?
We all celebrate. That's funny. Yeah, we love, the crowd just absolutely loves it, and we like to do things for the fans, so for sure it's so funny.
Yeah, you know Miles Cheek, the guy that ended up winning one of the events?
Yes.
Do you think you would have had anything for him at the end if if the accident didn't happen, or do you think he was too strong?
I think I was running pretty good. The first race I struggled a little bit, but the second race I kind of got the hang of it a little bit more and felt more comfortable in the truck. So I think I might have been able to keep up towards the end, but it would have been a battle because Robbie and Max were coming through the field too. And so in the Stadium Super Trucks, it's hard to say whatever happens.
Yeah, it's always hard to say in just any racing in general, you know?
Yeah, very unpredictable.
It's so unpredictable, and that's what I love about races like the Indianapolis 500 and even Daytona 500, you know? It's just racing in general. It's never official until that last lap.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, yeah, just any series. I like watching the IndyCar series too because there's a lot of drivers that have potential to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a little bit, I work in Formula One as well as an expert host, so I get to give paddock tours and garage tours to fans. So I'm at quite a few of the F1 races, and you can see that there's kind of a pattern. But what I love about like the IndyCar and the NASCAR stuff in the US, it's just so unpredictable on who can win.
Yeah, you never know. Kurt Busch almost won the Daytona 500 after qualifying 43rd one year. And then Boris Said almost won Sonoma driving for a small team when Jerry Nadeau was injured, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And not only that, but if you remember, Boris Said almost won a cup race at Daytona back, I think, like 2006, I think it was. Did you hear about that? I think it was back when he drove the Sobe No Fear car in the Cup Series, and if I remember right, he won the pole at Daytona. I think it was 2006, and led quite a bit of the race towards the end, and would have won if a caution didn't come out with like 5 laps to go, and then that allowed Tony Stewart to bunch up with him on the restart, and then Tony made the pass, I think, towards the end. I think that's how it played out, but Boris picked up a top 5 in the meantime.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he's a road racer, and so you wouldn't expect that at Daytona, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, do you hope to race in NASCAR, or are you focused on off-road trucks and all that?
I had a little bit of passion for NASCAR when I think it was a little over a year ago. I did the test at Daytona in an ARCA car.
Huh.
I was trying to find funding. I had a little bit of sponsorship to try and run maybe the ARCA series, and I loved it. It was definitely a challenge to it's definitely more of a mental strain than I think the strength in NASCAR. I think like the Formula 4 car and the F3 cars and the USF 2000 cars are a lot more heavier in the steering. So I would consider NASCAR more of a mental strain, especially at tracks like Daytona where you have that, you're going full throttle. So and you're worried about the people around you and whatnot. So I thought it was definitely a different style of racing. I couldn't put the funding together in the end to race it, but honestly, any car that I can get in, I would love to race. It's just, I think the more versatile of a driver you are, the better driver you're going to be in the long run. So if you can get in anything and make it happen, then I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Have you noticed how in the motorsports industry, how it's a completely small world?
Yes, for sure.
I've noticed that because just this past week, in case you didn't know, Miles Cheek appeared on my podcast last year, just before his Long Beach win, and And I just discovered this week, after my mother looked through some old memorabilia from my go-karting days, and she recovered a picture of me talking with the officials. And guess who was standing right behind me with his dad?
Who, Miles?
Miles, at a very young age of like 9 years old. This was like taken like in 2012 or 13, I think, and he would have been like, he was a kid at the time, and I had no idea who he was and how our paths would cross years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's such a small world.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to find a way to get a hold of that picture and send it to him. But yeah, if I remember right, in the image I was talking to the officials about some on-track antics by a driver that I thought was wrong, if I remember right, you know, and I didn't see who was behind me, but it was a younger Miles Cheek, and I figured out it was him just because of how he looked and the fact that it was in Southern California, and that's where Miles was from, you know.
Yeah, totally. That's so funny. What a small world.
It is a small world, and it's just amazing how you never know who will cross paths with you, you know.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please hit like and subscribe if you did so, and please continue supporting our amazing guest. And everybody, we'll see you next time on SFM.
Hi, this is Ted Warner speaking. While the checkered flag is waved for this program, stay tuned for next week for the next episode of SFM. Thanks to Doug Kenny for what he does for motorsports.